progress it into what you just did with this whole track, you know?
Okay, so basically most of the time I always start with the percussion elements. So with the kick, let's say, let's call it the group of the track, which in this case we can go onto the kick and the drums. Okay, I'm going to solo them so you can listen like basically what the idea is. Sorry. Okay, so basically we have the kick and the snare doing the normal pattern we all already know. But here is the detail I told you about the ear candies and this kind of extra sounds that always help with the beat to keep it more attractive and not like a flat thing, which are this kind of thumb play or noise stuff. So these kind of things I think help a lot to keep the group and to keep the track more dynamic. With just if we go instead just with a kick, hi-hat and clap. As you can see here, I have like various layers of the hi-hats too, doing like the normal pattern, 18 notes and the offbeat notes. But you also have some loops I like changed quite a lot with some process to have a better group. So these sound like kind of let's call real hi-hats, which give more groove again to the track. So this was the initial part of the track. Okay, so then I normally go into the bass programming. In this case, as I told you, this one is freezed to save a bit of CPU, but basically it's like a rolling bass. Okay, so we have a sub bass doing the rolling bass sound with some sidechain. Then we have another layer to give more body to it, like more on top, let's say. And the main bass, which is like the group one. It's like another type of pattern. So this was like the main idea. I remember I started with this and this was how it sounded.
That's super nice.
And even the track, if you listen to it in this kind of part, that's what's going on the track. Of course, we have more elements and things going on, but this is the basic of the track. Okay, so the vocals, of course, play a really important part here, because if we would keep this track always the same with these parts, it would be a bit boring, let's say. So the vocals, of course, are really important here. So for the intro, verse and bridge, I kept everything like in a really basic things, like things are entering slowly to the track, going directly to the drop, where we have more melodic elements. So here we have the synth group, which is, there are a lot of things going on. So a lot of, let's say, counter melodies, like a lot of melodies play each other at the same time and they create a different group. So this is how the synth sounds would sound. So as you can hear, there's a lot of things going on. So if we go to solo these tracks, we have some rhythmic part patterns that could help again to have a better groove. Okay, this one has a cutoff automatization. And here's like the main melody, let's say, for the track, you know, which is a pigments synth that also plays with another layer with a different program.
I actually had a quick question about
Yep.
a couple things. So for the drums and stuff, I love how real your drums sound. Is there any specific like thing you decide on, like when you choose your samples? Is there like specific hats you like to use? Any particular stylistic decision you make when you're moving towards, making
Basically, it
choose.
depends on the track, but of
Mm-hmm.
course, sometimes it's cool to have these kind of more realistic drums
Mm-hmm.
to have a different group. But it depends on the track, of course. If I have a more normal techno or house sound, I would choose some other instruments. So it
Mm-hmm.
basically depends on what's happening with the track. Okay.
So in that track, in this track specifically, is there any specific sample packs that you've decided like are really good for the sound that you wanted to go for?
Not exactly, but as you can see, I used a lot of the PML sounds
Mm-hmm.
because I really like what they do for the melodic and progressive house genres. So the loops are taken from some of his sample packs, especially. And regarding the one shots, yeah, I mean, I have a lot of packs of different like brands.
Mm-hmm.
And most of them, yeah, just as you can see here, I have like one shots from different sample packs, but I program them like my own way. Also for the drums, I always like to like edit a bit the drums so they don't sound exactly as they come from the sample pack. So for example, this is how this loop would sound like on a the original one, which is a bit more noisy. But what I did here was to EQ to apply some sidechain, but I also reduced the transient shape so I can have like a more short rhythm on it, so it sounds a bit different, has a different group. So this is basically what I always do. I also sometimes like to do, not in this track, but I like to edit the loops. For example, if I have a drum loop that comes from a sample pack or something, I like to edit them, like chop them and have different rhythms from this loop, which has cool sounds, but I like to use in my own way. Okay.
Great. The other thing I noticed also on the bass sound, you have two mid groove elements within the bass, and you
Yep.
have, which is one is like the rolling, like the typical rolling bass sound, which is like the mid level. But then the sub isn't necessarily all 16th notes, right? So
On
how
this case, yeah,
so how did
it
you
was a 16 note.
but not every single one, right? Like you notice how like the first one is a 16th
Yeah, it
note
has like its own groove,
groove
let's
rhythm.
say.
So how do you decide that? Like what makes you decide that, like those offbeat random notes that are not 16th, where you decide to make them like the eighth notes,
It
etc.
depends on the rhythm. So as I told you, I always like to start with the drums.
Mm-hmm.
So once I have like the drum basics, so it would be this. I always like to play on the keyboard like different rhythms and see what I like.
Mm-hmm.
So this is how it came out basically. So that it has like an offbeat rhythm.
Nice. It's almost playing with the toms.
Exactly. But the toms are also like using different offbeats, so it has like a different vibe. This one is like another layer that simply goes on top to give some atmosphere to the bass, like not like really loud. This is not so noticeable.
Mm-hmm.
And the main one, of course, is like this is like a normal rolling bass.
Yeah. And it's
This
just
is like the
it's
main one
filtered really heavily so that it doesn't conflict with anything.
with the bass one and the
Yeah.
kick. So yeah,
Yeah.
basically, as you can see on most of the bass sounds and also the synth sounds, what I did was to filter the bass frequencies from them so they don't fight for the space with the bass and the kick. So the bass and the kick has enough space to develop correctly.
Perfect. And in terms of like melodies, do you think how do you come up with the ideas? Do you just play notes on your keyboard and figure it out, or do you like have certain chords that you first create and then you work backwards? How what's your process of thinking about?
Yeah, I normally like to always create chords. So in this case, I created the chords, let's say chords with the bass, which in the drop they change from like the notes. So that was the basic. And on top of that, I created the melodies based also on the chords. As you can see, this is like the chords that the bass is doing. I'm repeating them only with the fifth or the third, I don't know. It depends on the track. So that's basically what I do here. And yeah, I have the chord progression, and then I work on the sound design on the track, and I also play maybe some different rhythms on the keyboard. I personally always like to play things, like start trying some ideas on the keyboard, and let's see if something comes interesting. I don't normally like write the melodies on with the mouse, you know. It's not like comfortable for me. So yeah, as you can see, the melody on the first drop is like really basic chords, but with sound design stuff. So it's just some basic notes doing the chords, and here the pigments plugin. Sorry, it's not opening. Has the sound design stuff. So what I did was to automate like an LFO to have this 13 notes rhythm and have more variation on it.
Nice.
So this is the basic, but as I told you on the first part, the arrangement is really important, because after the first drop, we have like a part B of the track, which is like the new things going on. So we have different chords, we have different sounds, different pads. That come on the break, but also a new melody, which is this one, which I think is really important for the track. I'm sorry, it's filtered. No. And I think this one is really important because apart from giving more energy on the break, it also comes back on the second drop of the track to give more energy to it, and also to feel like something new. Because if we wouldn't have this melody here on the second drop, let me play it. So basically without it, it would sound exactly the same as the first drop, which is something that maybe it's not the best for a purified track, I think. So this kind of new elements going on the second part of the track gives it more energy and more, yeah, like a feel of something new on the track, like something new is going on. Apart from the vocals, of course, that have more elements here, a secondary vocal, but yeah, that melody, I think it's like a key point for this track. Which is really simple.
Yeah, one quick question I wanted to ask you. I've noticed this as well. I noticed like you have the triplet pattern of the chord stabs, chord plugs that come in almost at like only the second half of the of the rhythm. It's almost like you're anticipating a call before it goes, and that's the response. Is that something you did intentionally? Because you have like
on the chords, you mean, on the drop?
on the plucks, right? You notice how like in the plucks you have like they're going normally in normal speed, but then they become they almost act as a response to the arpeggio lead that you have. Because
yeah, sure. That's what I said about that. I like to have like various layers of sounds playing each its own melody, but like they have like a question and answer sound.
Question answer. Yeah, perfect. Yeah,
that's really important. So yeah, as you can see here, we have a lot of melodies going on, which is but all of them together sound like with a more complete vision of question answer, and it's a really nice play. So yeah, that's a really important thing in my own productions. I would not say this is like a must thing for Purified release, but it's something that I really like on my own tracks, you know, to have this play between the different melodies.
Amazing.
So yeah, basically that's like the basics. As you can see, there's if you like have an overview of the track, is not like a complex thing, because you have some groove patterns, some drum patterns, a bass with different layers, but the cool thing comes with the melody play. Of course, as I told you before, the vocal is a really important thing on this track, otherwise it would be like a not so attractive one, let's say. The vocals have a lot of layers too, as you can hear, and different movements. So yeah, this is really important to have like yeah, again the feel of a different section of the track, of a pre-drop and a drop. Okay, so what I always like to do is to start with the basics on the track, on the intro, then start developing the sounds like slowly, you know. Everything should start to come to the track a bit slower, and the bridge and the drop is like the biggest part of the track. So after the break, for example, we have the same thing. We have things going on slowly here, and like more things going on. Okay? As you can see here, after the break, which is like a really, let's say, emotive moment of the track, because we have more pads, more chords, and this kind of things, we have like a more simple moment on the track, on the pre-drop, but it's because I wanted to again have the build-up energy for the drop. Okay, so here we have a down moment, but everything starts coming slowly again for the drop. So as you can hear here on the pre-drop, like all the energy is waiting for that moment on the drop, like everything goes into that moment. Also, I forgot to mention this important instrument, which is like a gang or hang, I don't know how to pronounce it in English correctly, which is this percussive instrument, like kind of a percussion melodic instrument. I have this first because it's a contact library that comes again a lot of CPU.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is like an important like instrument for the track, because it's not like the main one, but it always keeps the rhythm going on the track, on the background, you know. So it's something melodic that it's filtered here. So if when you listen to the track like fully, it's not always present, it's always on the background, but it feels a lot the space.
Yeah, it's very interesting. It's super interesting because you have like most of your instruments are super like analog-y sound, right? But then you have this like organic instrument that kind of just fills up
exactly.
the space really nicely. It creates like a dichotomy a little bit, but it does, because of the reverb, you're like melding it really well with the analog synth, so it doesn't seem like there's that huge contrast, you know?
Yeah, exactly. But it's because it's a background thing. I saw someone said that it sounds like a steel drum, and it's basically it. So I just call it hang because I know this instrument like for that name, but it's basically an steel drum.
Steel pan drum, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's really cool, because if you listen to the track without this element, it's not like a main one, but it also feels a lot the space in the background. So it's always there, like playing its own stuff and giving some background melodic elements to the track, not only the bass percussion, you know. So this one it's also important for this track. But as you can see, the melodies are not so strange, let's say, not so complicated. I also have a lot of pads, as you can hear, and these do like really small details, but as I told you before, it's really important to give the ear candies and the interesting things going on. So yeah, it's like a more ethereal sound, let's say, but also this one plays the kind of question and answer thing, especially this drum pad, because this one like responds to the vocal in some points. So yeah, that's a lot of things, as I told you, going on, but with really small details, like the full thing. The full track listens when you put it all together. If you play individual track, it doesn't seem like a structured idea, but everything like plays all together. And for the effects, yeah, I have like a lot of things going on too, but it's just basically some crashes, noises, and more things to check if you want, but not like something complicated, just for the some small one shots. And the crashes and this kind of things for the drop, of course.
That was really cool.
Oh.
I really like how you had it's almost like everything is talking to itself, and it's like there's a sequence of things, right? It's very interesting because I think what people do mostly is they just have like a riser, and then it's just a crash. You know, it's just like there's two things that happen. But in your situation, I'm noticing like three things that you do, or three or four things actually you do. Is like first you have like this melodic riser,
Yeah.
then you have like a clap, and then you have the crash, and then finally you have this like textural thing, which creates so much more tension and release than just like a regular, just like white noise open and white noise crash, you know?
Exactly. Also, these together, if you play them with the synths, of course, they create a nice touch to here. Here, for example, this is after the break, so you can hear there's a lot of effects going on.
Amazing.
Also, here's like a percussion thing I did with an external gear instrument. That's what it's in audio, not like a big thing. Just to give more groove to the second part, you know. So yeah, basically that's the track itself. The arrangement, as I told you, is really important to not always. I think an important thing for my productions, and something that sometimes I've seen on Purified releases, it's to not give like the best of the track on the first minutes. Like, you should have to develop the ideas slowly and leave some good things for the end of the track, you know. So as you saw, the new melody is coming on the minute 4 of the track. So I could easily put this one on the start of the track, and it could be an interesting one. But when you listen to the full track, it wouldn't be like so attractive if you listen to it to the whole track, you know. Mm-hmm. It's better if you save some space for some saints to have their own moment, you know. So for example, on the verse and the intro, we have the bass. It's like the main one. Then on the bridge, we have like more elements going on. This is the one here that shines. On the drop, we have a new one that comes on, and it has this new space, which is this one, you know, this, sorry. Again, on the break, you have the new ARP we have over here. Sorry, it's this one, yeah.
I can't hear your mic anymore.
Now, yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah.
Okay. I was saying that, yeah, this is like the basic as you can see. So it's always important to leave the track some space to each sound have the protagonisms, you know. So not give everything on the first 2 minutes of the track. Always leave something for the end. Otherwise, people will listen to your track until the minute 2 or 3, and then it will be again 4 minutes of the same. So maybe you can keep it more attractive if you save some melodies for the end.
Yeah, it's super interesting because you don't even like you introduce the arpeggio in the start, but then you also have layers on like the bass that you add, which become groove elements, so that you're not forced to introduce the main lead too early. You know, you're just
Exactly.
you're
You
holding
can
it
start
off.
filtering.
Yeah, so instead of like using like cool like the main lead in the start and like trying to just filter it in, you leave it to like the breakdown and the drop, so that like it's like a story that you're telling, right? And it's a good story. Really.
Yeah, I think it's really important. And if you listen to other of my productions, you will hear the same. Like, I don't give everything on the first drop. I always leave something for the end of the track. And that keeps the track more interesting. As I told you, this may not always work on the club stuff, but also if you are looking for streaming music and these kind of things, if it's a, let's say, 6 or 7 minutes track of always the same, it's not so attractive. So you always have to keep the listener interesting on listening what's going on the second part of the track, if there will be something new, you know.
Amazing. One of the things I also notice about your songs is like you're generally, how do you automate stuff? Like how are you know how you have new instruments you introduce later on, but how are you progressing even the instruments that are already there? Like how are you automating them? Are you automating just a cutoff? What's like the different parameters you automate?
Basically, yeah, if I can show you now some of them. Like, I don't remember exactly where I I did used automatizations, but yeah, basically I used a lot of the frequencies. Like, I filter the frequencies from the send itself. It can be Diva, Serum, whatever you want, but I also like to use a Ableton auto filter to, yeah, give more shape to the sound. Also, I always like to automatizate, for example, the auto pan rate to give more this kind of let me show you, of LFO sound.
Beautiful.
Because without this, it would be like a flat pad, you know,
Yeah.
nothing going on. But this one makes the difference.
That's super funny because I use the exact same technique, dude.
You can do it also with the volume, but I
Yeah.
personally sometimes like to use the pan to have
Oh,
this.
100%. Left and right, yeah. Stereo.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, I always like, most of the time I use the automatizations are based on the filter, but also on the volume. I don't remember exactly where I used some automatization of the volume here, but yeah, I always automatizate the volume from the utility. Yeah, here for example, from the utility plugin. I don't do it from the mixer section because I would like to keep control of the overall volume for the track. So for example, if I automatize the vocal with the mixer and then I change some parameters, then I will have to move all the automatization up or down. So personally, I like to do it from the utility gain. So later, if I want to go with the vocal, I just give it, I don't know, 2 decibels more or 2 decibels less from volume, and I'm ready to go because I already keep the automatization.
That's amazing. I just wanted to throw it out there, guys. If you purchase the Beatport track by Deviu Snow, which just came out on Purified Records, and you send me the receipt on Discord, we will be doing a one-on-one feedback with you. And if you like the track, we might even discuss the possibility of mentorship, or even think about bringing Deviu on for a masterclass, which will be more in depth, where we will be going over mixing, mastering, sound design, and starting a track from scratch. So the more interest I get, the more interest we see, the more chances we have of working on cool stuff. So please drop in the chat if you want to see more stuff, if you want a masterclass, and if you purchase the track and send a screenshot of the receipt on Discord to me, Crimson, then we will set up a one-on-one feedback for a track that you sent us. Yeah, but continue on.
Okay, so yeah, I think that's the overall view of the track. Let me know if you want to go more into detail of some sounds or something. Yeah, I already show you like the basics of the track. As I told you again, the arrangement is really important for my music personally. So yeah, let me know if you want to go deep into something.
Yeah, so for me personally, I love like your space, like the way you designed the space for the 3D space specifically, especially with the reverb and the hall reverbs that you have. So I would love to see more about this hall reverb that you have, going, and
Okay.
how you apply space to different things. And chat, let me know if you have any more questions, because after this we will wrap things up.
Okay, so basically, for the synths and these kind of things, I like, sometimes it depends on the track. On this case, I used the built-in effects from the synths. So the reverb from Pigments, Serum, I think, or Diva. Yeah, for example, here. This is for the synths. I used it like insert on the synth, like play a bit with the dry and wet, maybe some touching, some tweaking, some parameters. But for the vocal, for example, I used the Valhalla. We already know it, really good reverb. But I also used a lot of reverb from Ableton on the synths, as you can see on the vocal. So yeah, that's basically it. Not too much, not too complex. On the pads also, yeah, as you can see, we have the built-in reverb from Serum for the pads, for example. That gives a really nice touch. I personally sometimes like to use presets from yeah, some sample packs or things like this, presets packs. But I also do sometimes my own. For example, I don't know exactly where, but this was made for my own. I like to do some design too. It's always important, I think, to not, if you are going to use presets, for example, not keep them as they are, always try to match them with your own style. Always try to make them fit into your mix, because if you have, for example, a really loud lead from a preset, it's easier to make them fit in your mix if you try to tweak it from the sound design than trying to later put a lot of EQ on the master chain, for example. So yeah, basically, not on the reverb side, there's not too much going on here. All the effects, most of them have reverb or some of things, some types of delays. So yeah, I think that the most reverb effect from this track comes from the pads, the ones I told you that were like small things going on. But as you can see, I have the effects from the plugins themselves. But that's what I say, it's always important to tweak your sounds to make them match on the style of the track.
So Adam asks, would you mind going into the arpeggio again? Was there a particular reason you set the offset to 5?
The ARP, you mean the break one? Let me know, the break one or the drop one?
There is one that you I think it was the
I think it was
break
this
one. Yeah, you have the offset set to 5.
Oh, because I like it at how the start of the track, because if you can hear on the full track, I like it to start from a high note, so the pam 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 pam, not on a different move. This one starts from a different note on the bottom, so I wanted to start just for that. So that's basically it. After I have this. Again, as you can see here, there are the play of the melodies comes from the ARP, the pads, but also we have some other elements, 2 new melodies. The one we already saw on the drop comes filtered, like really slow. And also we have a new one.
Nice. And this one doesn't go past the, you don't bring it back again in the break.
No, just for a small effect here, with a couple of other layers here to have this effect of a massive sampling. So basically, again, same as on the drop, the cool thing on the break comes from the different melodies that play each other. We have the ARP, of course, the main one. We have this, and the new one that it's coming up. Basically here I just automatized the filter from Diva and also the one from Auto Filter. I think that the play between the 2 filters is really nice, because sometimes if you only open the Diva one, you get some type of sound, but once the Diva filter is opened, if you use the Auto Filter